I might try that again with the microphone open. Heidi ho, everyone, and welcome aboard. Thanks for joining me for Trading Buddies on this Monday, the 1st of July. Pinch, punch, first day of the month, first day of the quarter, and of course, it's the first day of the trifecta today. Isn't that exciting? I've got a bell ringing in my ear, so just bear with me for 2 seconds, and I'll try and fix that. From whence does it come? There, sorted. Okay. How are we all? Did we have a nice weekend? I hope so. Um, I bet I might share screen, shall I? And have a look at the gold chart, which is there. I'm in a gold short. Will you guys? I'm not sure what I share on a Monday in Trading Buddies with you guys, but I'm in a gold short trading this bar here. You should have probably picked that up last Monday, I think. We did get taken into that, but nothing good's happened since, frankly. And I've got no reason to change apart from this candle here looks a little bit dodgy, but we do have protection from the pivot and the trade line. So that trade line's not relevant on a weekly, of course, but it is on a daily. And Friday's bar, although it's a little bit doji, a little bit encouraging, I suppose. Monthly pivots dropped, so we do have an extra layer, not an extra layer, but a little bit closer resistance area. So it's still bearish, but the dollar seems to be a little bit weaker in the last couple of days. So might have to watch this a little bit more closely. Anyway, that's not our quest at the moment. Our quest is to see if we're going to trade this as a breakout going into London. So, Gay Lewis, how are you, mate? Lewis likes it short on D1. Yes, maybe that little bar there at resistance is going to help out here. We'll see. Anyway, let's have a look at the one. Ooh, hourly chart's looking very head and shoulderish, is it not? But there's a lot of indecision here at the moment. Daily pivots is so far acting as resistance, but that's not our quest. Our quest is to see if we can trade the breakout here, if there is indeed to be a breakout. You can see the indecisiveness here throughout the last couple of hours. Don't say, well, I've got to say, I don't think I like the upside crashing into the monthly pivot. The risk is going to be far greater than the reward or the potential reward, I believe. So $10.50 roughly is your risk, $4.50 is your reward to monthly pivot. And downside probably looks a little bit better if you're prepared to go through DS1, where you would get, if you went to DS2, about 1-to-1. DS2, it's a bit of a stretch to get to 1-to-1. I think I'll just leave my weekly trade intact and not bother about this. Last week, I had a good week. I was actually trading this last week, the breakout, and it did quite okay. As you can see from Thursday was pretty good. Wednesday, did I trade on Wednesday? I can't remember, but also pretty good. Tuesday, let me get rid of that. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about with this breakout trade, then you probably better let me know in the chat box and I can take you through it. Monday took a hell of a long time to get warmed up, but eventually it did. Tuesday, I don't think was any good. Well, look at that. Might have got a TP one, I'm not sure. I didn't trade that on Tuesday. No open position for Lewis. We'll take H1 short below current candle. Okay. Yep, that's a nice little slingshot setup, actually, mate. Where you've got what we call a +1 breaking the trade line. It's a bit of a double cross on that trade line as well. Cool. So Lewis is going short under here. Stop loss, I would imagine, either here or here. if you're interested in following Lewis. Pretty good on gold too, he is, I've got to say. Right, so that's a no from me, based purely on the fact that I'm already short, and I don't think the reward here on a breakout trade is warranting the risk. So it's going to be a little bit volatile. Well, it seems to be a little bit volatile at the moment as well. You can see last Thursday, big rally, but it's come off that. And as I said before, looks like it's creating a head and shoulders there. That part's good. Righto. What am I up to this week? Well, gee whiz, there's a whole bunch going on because it is the new month, because it is the new week. I went through all the monthly charts, went through all the weekly charts, and came up with a few things that I might point out to you on the monthly, if you're interested. There are a few things that I did like. One was Euro versus the CAD. Now, interesting what's going on, and I'll bring Ash in because he's in the room. G'day, mate. How are you? What's going on?
Hi, buddy.
Over there? How you doing?
Yeah, good. Not bad at all, mate.
How was your weekend?
It was very nice, actually. Yeah, I can't grumble about the weekend. Nice and chilled out.
Awesome. You'll be buggered next weekend or this time next week.
I will.
I'm sure you will. I'm interested very much in what I'm seeing in the charts at the moment. Euro and pound are strong. It seems to me that the election scenario over there, especially in France, is making a big difference. Is that what am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, I think you are, mate. I think you are, and I think it creates a lot of uncertainty, with both the euro and the pound. I think that with the pound, it's a difficult one because Labour don't tend to historically be very good for the economy. So, the pound tends to suffer, the FTSE could suffer a bit as well. But this Labour government, they're not that far away from what the current Conservative government are like. So there might be a slightly different mood music, and it is making things a little bit difficult. By the time we next meet, it will be done. So we'll know what's going on, and it, do we sort of then stay away from things like the pound? I have to say, the background information on the pound, seasonals and COT data particularly, are both very negative, and it does suggest that we get some pound weakness this week. So I'm looking for shorts with the pound.
Okay, I was short pound Swissy, but that's I don't know if I'm still in that. It might have been taken out. No, I'm still there by the skin of my teeth. I'm still there.
Yeah. Well, the pound's it's managed to find some strength, isn't it? But I'm looking at it and thinking, well, that's just a better price to get in at because I do think the pound is bearish. I think when we look at the fundamentals as well, the inflation data is back down to 2%. Now, the only reason the pound probably didn't tank is because interest rates stayed high. And what's interesting about this dynamic is that if inflation is coming down but interest rates are high, actually the pound is strong because you're getting more return for less of your money being eaten away by inflation. So that kind of normally you'd think, okay, well, inflation coming down would promote some selling because the next step would be an interest rate cut, which would lower the pound. But because that didn't happen, really what we've seen is some strength from the pound. However, I think as soon as the election's done and we get the next meeting this month, I think that all changes. So I think that people are going to start positioning for the fact that there will be an interest rate cut as soon as this month. So I do think that there is a case to be made for some downside. And as I say, if you look at some of the data from the COT data, particularly, let me just I'm going to bring this up and see if I can find out what I was looking at yesterday. Yeah, it's very bearish, very, very, very bearish. It's kind of
certainly telling me that.
Yeah, so the pound, the euros are a little bit trickier, because I'm not quite as party to it. But interestingly, the COT data for the euro is very strong. So we're well, I say very strong. It's kind of tipped into that more strong than weak kind of scenario. So we are actually looking from the COT perspective for for the euro to be a buy. So the pound is a definite sell. The euro is a buy. It is in a buy zone. Historically, i.e., seasonal charts don't back that up. So it kind of suggests that stay away from the euro right now. If when I see sort of things that are out of agreement like that. But the pound is different. The pound does suggest some downside. Whether you want to
Yep.
trade it against the dollar is the big question. But I do think that the pound dollar chart is actually very attractive, particularly if you look at the the channel that has been formed on the pound dollar chart. There is a
You mean
channel
here
which
on the daily? I can see one. Yeah.
yeah, and the interesting thing I think about this is that the yours is yeah, I mean even yeah, and I mean that's really good actually, isn't it? Well, that's pretty mathematic. That's pretty
Well,
equal. I mean,
we could probably manipulate that a little bit.
I think that would be better to sort of say that, because what that does is that says if the price closes under that point by the end of the day, then this would be a sell.
Yep. Interesting.
Where we are now is questionable because of the lower trend line. Because of the peak that you see on the 24th of June. So if the level was taken from there to the 24th of June, I mean that does look pretty convincing, doesn't it?
Mm. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
that looks good, mate. That looks good. I think that there's enough of a case to be made to say let's look for sell signals with the pound. If you look at the 4-hour chart, they're not there yet. If you look at the 1-hour chart, they're not there yet. So this one's a really good one to have on the radar. Now this won't be popular, but I quite like the pound yen as well. And I think yeah. And again, the yen COT data is so strong with the yen. I mean, it's just, but it has been for a while, and they've been wrong for a long time. But they are basically saying this thing is going to tank, and you can see with the current bars, things just don't go up like that without coming down pretty
This is
much
a
in the same
Maria. This
fashion.
one.
What's that? Sorry,
This is a Maria.
a Maria.
Mm-hmm.
What's a Maria?
You're too young. Think Sound of Music.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. A hibbity jibbity bibbly pobbly. She's a
How do you catch a cloud and pin it down?
yeah, yeah.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that's a lyric. I'm not allowed to do lyrics.
Oh, as long as you don't sing it, I think it's okay.
No, no, no.
Yeah. How do you solve a
Okay.
problem like the yen? Exactly that,
Yeah.
mate. And it is so. So this is what we got now. Interestingly, if you go to the yen, the euro yen,
Mm-hmm. That's definitely on my radar. Euro yen.
yeah, euro yen as a short. Now look at that. Look at the bar that we've got today. A gap. Now, if that isn't a potential exhaustion gap, I don't know what is. And you don't tend to see them on currencies. So I think this is a really interesting looking chart as well. So you've got a potential exhaustion gap on the euro yen. You've got COT data, which is suggesting, and seasonals, by the way, are both suggesting sort of like looking at the opposite end of the spectrum with the pound yen. And um, oftentimes the COT data will match Euro and Swissy quite a lot. You'll see the Euro and Swissy COT data being quite similar. And it's because it's regional and it's because of relationships. Now, the pound sort of falls just about into that kind of spectrum as well. So I'm seeing, I'm looking for potential signals of weakness when it comes down to the pound. And the euro is a difficult one because the COT data is a buy, but the yen COT data is also a buy. So for me, pound yen would be a decent chance if we can get the right signal. There's no point in getting into it early because you're just going to get crushed on swaps, and it's going to kind of like make everybody question whether it's the right trade or not. So if we can get the
But
right signal,
you mean like if you sold it there, you'd be in trouble, or if you sold
oh
it there, you'd be in trouble, or if you sold
yeah,
it there, you'd be in trouble.
yeah.
Okay.
If you're
Yeah.
holding,
How
if I
can
mean
you?
if you're holding it and waiting for it to break down. But that's a really nice looking trend line. And I don't know what I don't know what we've got with a channel with this one, but it looks like there may well be a channel with this one. It'd be interesting to see whether we're at the top end of that channel on the euro yen.
Might be easier. No, it won't be easier. Okay, we'll use the daily.
Yeah, you'd think there's
Oh, it's not bad.
no, it's all right, isn't it? I mean, it does
Okay,
depend
so
on
use
where
that
you.
high.
Yeah. So we might be sort of I don't know where that leads us. Might be a couple of yeah, and it does depend on where it is. It's a difficult chart, but that's the most touches. That red one you've got now is the most touches. So you know, a sell signal in this area, I think to add some interest to this one as well. But yeah, as I say, mate, not popular, and I appreciate that, and I don't think anybody's going to want to be chasing this one. But that's what the data suggests. Now the data, of course, is only only going to create a specific, you know, a certain percentage of edge. So so you can't just go after this one and expect it to win. The chart has to kind of match up to see if we can sort of like add some extra juice to it. But I do think that the pound yen is well worth watching. I think the pound's well worth watching right now, mate. And you know, the difficulty, of course, with the election is that it might create enough volatility for it to go nowhere by the end of the week. You know, everybody knows who's going to win. So so that a Labour win is actually already priced into the pound. So I don't know. I don't even know whether the election is going to play that much of a part. The euro is a lot more interesting because Marine Le Pen has managed to win the first round. So the far right have won the first round of the election in France.
Apparently, the market likes that.
Well, I'm not surprised in a lot of ways because you know that the right-hand side of politics tends to be a lot more free market kind of ideas, don't they? Where the left tends to be sort of a lot more to do with the state controlling. Hi, Lewis. So you know it makes sense, and I suspect, and this is the thing, you know, if the Eurocot data is strong, and you do have a leadership from the right kind of going into France, and it's only France, of course, but it might sort of like boost the French economy. The CAC on might be an interesting one to be looking at as well in at times like these. But it will probably affect the euro, you know, because France is still one of the bigger economies in the eurozone.
Well, it's already done that, and today is really interesting. I just sent a
double gap, mate. That's interesting. No, I didn't know there was a gap on the euro dollar as well.
I just sent a post out to my Telegram group that this is what I'll be looking for today with euro versus the dollar. Now, that's why I wanted to have a chat to you early, because the election has clearly made a difference here over the weekend, and euro is completely out of its intraday comfort zone, as I put it.
Yeah,
because it's just, well, it started above DR1.
Yeah.
To start with, it's gone through DR2, it's gone through WR1, it's gone through the trade line, it's gone through the monthly pivot. This area is crucial, I believe, for euro dollar intraday. So I'm not talking about tomorrow or throughout the week. I'm only talking about the day. So yes, we have a gap here. Yes, we've got an untested daily pivot. And yes, we've got a euro dollar that's out of control, in my humble opinion. So I think the potential reward is to the downside. I can't buy this. There's no way I can buy it, but I can sell it. But I need to have a reason to sell it. Other than
do you know what else is quite interesting here is that that you know, because the way French politics is kind of designed, deals can be done, and even though a party wins the first round, they can kind of do a few swaps here, there, and everywhere to kind of you know, keep another party out. If they don't believe they're going to win the election ultimately, then they can do a few swap deals, and also some of the guys on the left can do some swap deals as well. So it might not end up being quite as clear cut. It's quite a complex system. And you'd wonder whether a knee-jerk reaction after the actual result pushes the price up, but then when the dust settles, everybody says, "But hold on, it's only round one," and can some, backdoor deals are going to get done over the next 5 days. So actually, the euro shouldn't be this strong. It's a bit, this isn't a done deal. Is the point by any stretch? So this could easily sell off.
Yeah. So my point is, pardon me, technical. Yours is fundamental, and
Yeah,
I think if they both combine, then we've got something to work with here.
yeah,
I'd
agreed.
even consider a false break of the monthly pivot. I know it's the first day of the month, and actually the monthly pivot doesn't belong there. I don't know why it hasn't reformed. It should be. Let me have a look. I can't forecast that. Have you got a level on the monthly pivot for euro dollar at all?
Yes, I do.
So it shouldn't be there. Pretty sure of that.
Okay, euro
Probably.
dollar. I've got it looks pretty much the same as yours. My monthly pivot is 1.07.
Oh, okay. Sorry, this is the day. I'm on the 30-minute chart. I keep forgetting. So it is valid. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would consider even a false break
Mm,
of that. So what I
yeah.
mean by that is if price were to come back underneath it, maybe hit the backside of that trend line and retest the monthly pivot. I think there's an aggressive sell there and a conservative sell there. If that doesn't happen and you get a strong rebuttal, if you like, of what we've seen already, then we can play a false break of the trade line in exactly the same fashion. So that would be an aggressive sell there and a conservative sell there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do feel you'd have to take first profit
Yeah.
before the gap closed, and I think your target's just above the daily pivot there. So
Yeah. Got it.
that would be my counsel on euro versus the dollar today.
Yeah, I think that's cool, mate. The Lewis has just given us slightly different levels on the euro yen, suggesting that use the high on November the 16th, 2023.
Where are we? Euro yen.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. I've got a few more that aren't urgent that I'll get through as well. Sorry, actually, I had these. I did a course on the weekend, and I was using this as a demonstration of something completely different. When you look at this chart, how technical is it?
Yeah.
Smash through, retest, smash through, retest, double retest, smash
Yeah.
through, retest, smashed. Well, didn't smash through the highs, I suppose. Retested the monthly pivot, and here we go again. That's
Yeah.
why. That's why this looks. Well, sorry. That's why it adds to the flavour, if you like,
Yeah.
as to why we'd be looking to come back to this breakout level.
Yeah. Agreed, mate. Agreed. It's yeah, that is an interesting one. I do like that line, I have to say. I
Which
think
one?
that line's really good. I mean, apart
This
from
one?
that sort of the line that the red channel you've got.
Oh, the red one. Okay.
Yeah, because apart from that sort of strange area, which is where I think the BOJ intervened, that strange area with a false breakout and then that red bar. Apart from
Yeah.
that, there are some really
Nice
exact
touches.
touches. Yeah, a lot along that particular level, and even there, even in that area, there's still sort of like the next green bar after the wild red swing, high and low, and then the next red bar. They both touch that line before kind of coming back down again. So this to me looks like the right area. Lewis is saying that the November 16th join April 29th.
November 16,
2023, yeah. So I guess that
2023 or
high
2024?
23.
November 16 is here, this high, right?
Yeah, so that one, and then sort of like extrapolating to the next for the spike, that red spike, the
This
red
one?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all sort of starting to point in a certain area, aren't they?
Suggest a little bit to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's okay. I mean, what would be interesting here is if it can come and tag that level and then close beneath the lower red channel, and then I think
Mm.
there's a sell.
All right, we'll be watching with interest, of course,
Yeah, yeah,
as will about, I don't know how many traders there are in the world, but I think the most of them are just waiting and sweating on the yen rallying.
yeah. I mean, that's a rising wedge, mate. I mean, you know, the downside from that
Yep.
one would be the top base right to the top red line right down to the blue line at the bottom. No, right at the bottom
So
is.
here,
So no, at the bottom. So if you go right to the
oh, this
start of
bottom
this,
red. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no, the start of the start of the pattern rather than the end. That's the end of the pattern. If you go to the start of that whole pattern, yeah, yeah, there, going
Oh,
straight up there.
you want that? That's
Yeah,
what you want.
yeah. And then if you take that line out and put it on, if it was to break out of the lower blue,
Oh, here.
lower, yeah, there. Now that sort of brings us down to about 157. So I mean that is a crazy target. It's basically sort of saying this whole pattern's going to get reversed.
Not unreasonable. Right, look,
No, well, I mean, you know, if that is that, you know, that rising wedge, if that rising wedge was to break, that, you know, that's what a rising wedge measured
oh,
move
okay, I see what you're saying.
suggests.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. So if the rising wedge was to break out and play out the measured move, which of course it won't necessarily do, but if that was to happen, that's what that would suggest.
All right. I think we've got a little bit of time to play with, to be honest. But what's that one? Oh, that's that other. It's not a channel, but it's a chart pattern. Look at the highs, just smash through. Anyway,
Mm.
I think we spend enough time on
What
the
price are those
yen.
highs, mate?
These highs
Yeah.
are at 170, let's say.
Okay. All right.
169.95. Didn't quite make it.
Okay. So not down to the 160. Okay.
No, 160 on Dolian was probably the one is has been most in the headlines that I've read about. Where's that? So we're above that again. And 160 is intervention territory. That,
Yeah.
that's that's what they say. But
Yeah.
we're now 161, so
Well, they just can't. I mean, there's no way that Japan as a nation can survive with their currency being this depreciated.
well, they can
It's
keep buying
crazy.
dollars.
Yeah, well, they keep buying dollars, they keep buying, yeah, but it's just, you know, it's gonna cripple the economy, and that they, you know, they seem to be very very slow. I mean, you know, we think our central bank's slow, but they are unbelievably pedestrian when it comes down to decision making.
They're a little bit laconic, one would say. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, I had a few things to share. One of them, I suppose I better give you the trade that I placed on. Why can't I see it there? Maybe I haven't placed it. Yeah, I have. Absolutely have. It's Euro CAD. So again, maybe I was waiting to hear from what you had to say, but I was sure I placed that order on the weekly chart. Apparently not. Reason. Here's the reason I've placed that order on the weekly chart. And the election, of course, is playing unfair at the moment. So we've got a big double top here. We've got a significant lower high, in my humble opinion. Yes, we've got a channel going up there, and we've broken the channel to the downside, and we've broken the trade line to the downside, and we've retested it. This election, which has caused the market to gap up this morning, is probably not such an issue for me. I would much prefer, of course, to be in this and down here somewhere, but it's very early in the week. I'm not going to get rid of this for love nor money at the moment, because as Ash just said, it's 1 week into the election, and maybe this does turn around. Next week could be interesting, but I've got a false break also of the ascending, or sorry, the resistance trade line, and a break and retest of the support trade line. So that every day of the week is going to be a sell order under here for me, which is exactly what I've done. Got no idea why I can't see it on this chart. Maybe I've got it on another one. But if you wanted to follow that, I've got an entry at 1.4567. And I've got a stop loss at 1.4787. I'll put those on the chart for you so you can see them. 1.47, what did I say? 4567, which is about there. And the stop loss I'll put above this swing here at 1.4787. Gets it above the monthly pivot as well. So that's the trade. I'm going to take some profit at the low here, or at least get myself safe at that low. And then it's anybody's game from that point on, because the potential for this to go a fair distance is there. Yes, I see the inverted head and shoulders, which really has failed at this point. So I see this level here as probably next take profit. And if this does get a move on, then there's probably a fair bit available. It will depend a lot on, the short term will depend a lot on these elections. There's no doubt about that. And that's the only reservation I have. In terms of other positions, I'll go through the currency pairs, currency indexes again, and why I think what I think. Now, the dollar hasn't quite reached that trade line as I see it, but it is coming off some distance. If you take that as has tested that level, then we're probably headed down to here. I'm not sure that's the case, so I'm a little bit indecisive on the dollar, but I'm nowhere near indecisive on the Aussie. I think the Aussie is a buy every day of the week right now, and I think it's the strongest currency from a technical point of view that I can see. We've been calling this long since down here when we saw this tweezer bottom. It's taken a long time to get there, but you can see every single time it comes down and tests the lows, it just disappears again. So they keep buying up the dollar at bargain prices, the Aussie at bargain prices, no question. But it has broken through this resistance trade line, which is probably above the horizontal level as well. So I'm bullish the Aussie. Canadian dollar, I remain a little bit bullish the Canadian dollar, but we are at resistance, and I fully accept that. The reason I'm bullish still is that we have got a strong base here. We've got a higher low. What we don't have yet is a higher high. Data dependent, probably. I think the data on the CAD's not too bad. So I do see this as a soft, very soft bullishness. I wouldn't want to be trading it long against the Aussie. I'll put it that way. Pound I only see as bearish. I don't see anything there that gets me excited about the pound. The Swissy, a little bit interesting. The Swissy. I thought when we came back into this channel that the Swissy would be strong. Unfortunately, the Swiss National Bank decided to have a second interest rate cut, and that looks to have put a little bit of a ceiling on that at the moment. Not sure about the Swissy, but it did close last week below this channel again. So probably bearish. Surprisingly for me, the Kiwi is also bearish now. We've come off the resistance trade line, or trend line, if you like. So now look to be headed back to retest the horizontal level and or the trade line, which was broken weeks ago. Didn't really go on with the job, the Kiwi. Not sure why, but technically I'm seeing that as non-bullish. I'll put it that way. The yen, we've spoken at length about the yen. There's no need to even talk about it. The chart's not going to tell us anything except it's completely oversold. And this is why the euro is probably a little bit bullish this week. I know we've got an upside down. In other words, we've got high test bar, low test bar. But that low test bar similar to what I saw on the dollar, as you would expect, because it's an upside down version of that, didn't quite make the trade line. And that makes this just that little bit more difficult to assess. Had it hit the trade line, I would definitely be bullish the euro this week. But the fact that it hasn't, and we've got indecisive 2 week price action, makes me just that little bit ambivalent. So I haven't really got a strong opinion on anything except the Aussie. I think the Aussie is a strong buy, and against what I think the pound is probably one of the best, but fundamentals may play a part in that as well. When I put all of that together and have a look at pound versus the Aussie, I was very, very pleased with what I saw this morning with the pound rallying, because I didn't want to take the price down here, obviously, at a support level on pound versus the Aussie. I'm not sure now how I get into this, but if this candle closes as is, I'd be very tempted tomorrow morning to place an order underneath it. I want to get my stop loss above the swing here, which is also a horizontal resistance level. But I think if what I suspect is about to happen happens, we could be in clover with pound versus the Aussie in the not too distant future. There'd definitely be a take profit area down here, but below that, if this structure smashes, then look at the gap. It's pretty substantial, pound versus the Aussie. So keen on that. Not so keen on the fundamentals, but I do like this break and retest of the trade line. That looks good to me. Apart from that, we've spoken about Euro CAD, pound Aussie, pound CAD. We've spoken about pretty much. It's the same story, and I'll give you the Euro CAD trade. My watch list outside of that is Euro versus the Aussie. Just to mention another one that's going to be affected by these elections. Where's the chart? No, can't find one. It's got to be something with a market scanner on it somewhere. Let's use that one. I'll put the market scanner on that. Actually, there's no need to do that. Let's go the other way. Let's put market watch on there. That makes it easier. Euro Aussie, as I said, I think that's particularly interesting. Reason, if I go to the weekly chart, you can see, was it the weekly I was looking at here? I think it was. Euro Aussie, yeah, that's why. I was looking at, I don't know if I had the channel coming from there, probably not. So something like that. We look to be at the bottom of this channel. There's also a horizontal level coming through here, which is interesting. I'd like to get above that and then retest it. So a higher low, if you like, off the bottom of this channel. I think that's an interesting one that I don't really want to trade because I don't agree with the directional bias. But if the elections do put the euro in a very, very strong position, then that may well be a trade. Not liking it because of I'm very, very strong on the Aussie, that of course. Pound versus the Aussie is a little bit different. We've spoken about that. That's most definitely on my watch list. So is pound CAD. We've spoken about that. The only one, pound Kiwi, that we didn't mention. So let's have a look.
I'm just putting a little order in the market here, mate.
All right, mate.
FTSE 100. I'll give you the levels. Just while I've just got a sort of bit of tidying up to do, but I'll give everybody the levels. Levels sell at 81.99 with a stop loss at 82.30. So you're looking around about a 30 pip stop loss, and going for a 1-to-1 with that one. And we'll see sort of if it can go some lower. But I'll tidy this up and I'll come back. But the 81.99, I'm going for a sell on the FTSE 100.
Cool. Righto. Pound versus Kiwi. We didn't speak about that. Now, pound versus the Kiwi, you would expect would be similar to pound versus the Aussie, and I would expect that to be the case also. And I'm not sure if it's going to be as strong. But there is a channel forming on this. On the weekly, you can probably see it's only early days, but it does look interesting. And I think I'd probably rather trade this why would it move than I would pound versus the Aussie, because I'm so strong in the Aussie. Doesn't look like the channel I found this morning. Maybe I found it on the daily. I did. But now I can't move it. I'll get rid of it and bring it back. That looks a bit better. Yet that doesn't. Maybe I'm going nuts. Maybe it was down here. There we go. So that plays into my my thesis a bit better. If pound versus the Aussie looked like that, I'd be very, very happy. We've got a game changer bar there on Friday's bar. That's what I was looking at. And now we're getting that pullback. Similar to pound versus the Aussie, if I see that tomorrow, effectively that's going to be a lower high on a 4-hour chart. Like so. At a resistance level, I think I'd be keen to trade this short pound versus the Kiwi, either on the daily or if you get into Asia session tomorrow, maybe on the 4-hour chart as well. But I do like that one short, pound versus the Kiwi as well. That's pretty much where I'm at, mate.
Okay, cool.
I've got monthly ideas, I've got weekly ideas, I've got intraday ideas. I'm all over the shop.
No, that sounds good, mate. I'll share my screen. I've got a bit of management to do, but I can still do it actually while I've got the charts up, I think.
Euro dollar shaping up interesting.
So I'm using this sorry, mate. Just using the trend here on the FTSE for some downside. I just sort of see this we've kind of come through these levels. This horizontal level looks to be pretty good. So this is on a 4-hour here. So I'm just going to see if I can get triggered in on this one, and I've got to switch to my other account, but we're not there yet. But it's really just kind of looking on the longer term time frames. The FTSE 100, and I've got let me just remove this template because we don't want that. Let's go for this one here. Yeah, I mean it's kind of like, it's got a strange old pattern kind of going on here, but what we have seen is just some weakness kind of coming in as we step down. There's a trend line along here somewhere that we've broken, and we're just getting this kind of, looks like we're getting this series of a trend coming down. So I'm just basically trading the trend and then seeing if I can get a half decent price on it. Using this the bar at the high there. This is the thing that, even though sometimes there's a bit of a question of whether something will come back to the price level, anything lower just makes it just less attractive, even though it looks like it's coming down, because from this point to this point the bottom of the bar is 1-to-1. So if we can kind of get here and see if we can come and tag the bottom again, then we're kind of like starting to stretch into a 1.5, maybe even a 2-to-1 kind of a scenario. So looking in this area for some take profit kind of area, maybe even lower, but we can trail behind it. We can take profit, what everybody else wants to do. But I'll probably just see if I can actually take the profit if it comes down and tags the lower end here, and just go for a 1-to-1. Because it's Monday, there's lots of stuff kind of coming up this week. I don't think we're going to step out the range, but I'm just going to trade the see if we can kind of get in and take some profit on the lower end of the range of the day. Sorry, of the cluster, which I think the lower end is going to be down here on the day. So that's the idea, mate. As I say, whether we get interested in, I don't know, but that's the price. That's the lowest price that I'm prepared to pay for the FTSE trade.
Fair enough.
Which is 81.99.
81.99.
Yeah.
It sounds like one of those prices that Maya put up, or they all do. Actually, know that the price these days is 97, isn't it? Because some genius
Yes.
psychologist worked out that 7 is a far better number for purchasers to recognise or to react off. Sorry.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense actually because yeah, I mean, I don't know, sort of, 7 makes people feel good. I don't know, there's something about 7 that makes people feel
Yeah.
good, but 9, you always sort of like feel like it's basically the same as the round number, and the psychology doesn't really work. So the 7 does make a lot of sense. I've never really thought about it, but it does make a lot of sense.
It annoys me. It drives me to distraction, frankly, because
Yeah,
as you know, one of the worst things in my life, I think, is sales. I hate sales. They're just
yeah, yeah,
dreadful things.
yeah.
You
Agreed.
know, trying to talk someone into something is just not where I'm at. I hate it. But the psychology that goes into it is absolutely unbelievable. There are
Yeah,
people working on our brains every second of the day. And obviously these days with AI, it's just ridiculous. If you
yeah,
and you have a conversation with your wife about lounge chairs or something, walk
yeah,
upstairs on your computer and you've got ads about lounge chairs.
yeah.
I didn't ask them to
Uh,
listen to my conversation.
Do you know me? I think we're sort of like heading for quite a dangerous kind of period
Oh,
in in human evolvement, and I think that the generation that haven't even kind of really started to experience mobile phones and social media are in for an absolute extravaganza of hypnosis in a way,
yeah.
and cajoling and manipulation. It's going to be a tough old time. That we're talking like um, we're talking at Molly's school they're talking about banning any mobile phones and sort of having anything on social media. And somebody said that there was a year 5. So year 5 is around about 10 years old, I think. A year 5 child broke up with another year 5 child, a boyfriend, girlfriend,
Oh my
and then
God.
to embarrass the guy, she put loads of stuff on social media. And it's that kind of thing that you just sort of like go, you know what, you know, it's just, as kids, you should be able to have these relationships. So you learn as you go. If they break up, they break up. Whatever else, and it's done within the little group, and then it's done. But to the fact that the whole school effectively and beyond can access embarrassing information about someone is just it's a dangerous place for a little brain to be. Um,
Absolutely dreadful. I can't
yeah,
imagine, the pressure that these kids are under because of
yeah,
that is
yeah,
absolutely horrible. As if you haven't got enough pressure growing up,
absolutely,
without that
mate.
sort of
Yeah.
crap going.
Yeah, yeah, you
No,
can't even do something free. You can't even do something reactive or anything like that, just in case it's kind of scrutinized on social media and by anybody that wants to see it.
well, if there was social media in my day, they they would have got plenty of stuff of me being walking up. I remember one time coming out of recess, and this bloke, I never even knew this bloke. He just wandered up to me, went bang, smashed me, not smashed me in the nose, broke my nose, and all the rest of it.
Right.
Wow, is that bullying? I think that's bullying, right?
Well,
But
yeah.
funnily enough, years later, I was playing football with him, and we became good mates.
I mean, you want him on your team for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Go over there, hit that
Yeah.
bastard. Well, bloke, person. Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
those were the days. Gary wants us to have, and sorry, Gary, this has taken a while. When we were talking about the yen, Lewis will get to that as well. Silver and oil. Aussie yen. You got an Aussie yen chart there? What are your thoughts?
I can. I've just got to monitor this for a little while, mate. So if you
Oh,
don't mind
sorry.
taking the
Okay,
screen back, that'd be great.
I'll take the screen and go there myself.
Only because
Yeah,
I've got
that's
one more account to see if I can trigger in on and
cool. Why can't I do that? Because I lost that. Yeah, I've got that.
yeah.
I've lost my control panel. It's disappeared. I'll find it. There we go. Okay, Aussie yen. Let's have a look at Aussie yen. Where haven't I got a trade going? There. Pound Kiwi. There we go. Change Aussie yen. Okay. I think this would be the last one I'd pick at the moment, Gary, to be honest. Not because of the chart, but because I'm so bullish the Aussie, because of what it's telling me. So I think, if it push came to shove and I had to trade the yen long, it wouldn't be against the Aussie, it'd be against the pound, I think, at the moment. So that would be my thought process. Let's have a look at the chart, or what the chart's telling. We know what the chart's going to tell us. The chart's going to tell us it's overbought to high heaven. But let's see if we can find technical reason why it should turn around. Where will I start this channel? Here. I'll swapperoo. We'll start at the top. But line up with that, not quite. These are the obvious ones, aren't they? And I can't make them line up either, but let's go with the middle one and join that to the top one. Nearly. Why don't I just start it there? That makes sense, right? Sorry, I'm a bit
That's all right. I'm all right now, mate. I'm managed up, so I'm okay.
You sorted?
All management is in, yeah.
Yeah, I got to say,
Trade is live.
I don't like this as much as the others, Gary. I've got to say. I mean, if you've got something that I'm not seeing, please let me know. More than happy with that. If you want to share yours, more than happy with that. Now, would it be like overextended? Oh, yeah, absolutely overextended, no question. Too risky to long, not sure when it will turn. Absolutely. And that's the whole world's thinking the same thing, Lewis. You can't go long and you can't go short.
Not yet.
It's
Not yet. I mean, we're waiting for chart, but because the thing is, with it overextended like this, and it does look like a blow off top. It looks like we're getting to that blow off top sort of scenario. Um, the move to the downside will be vicious, but you could certainly put orders in below specific bars, and not worry too much about the price action. I think going under Friday's bar would be okay.
oh look, don't let me deter anybody from anything, because if you get this right, you're going to make a packet.
Yeah.
And I guess you've got to weigh that up. But how many times are you prepared to be wrong? That's where I sit.
But
I'm not
even with
prepared.
blow off tops, mate, there's usually a pretty good signal, and I mean, if it's coming down, it's going to come down a long, long way. So even if we do wait for the blow off top scenario to happen, which means that, ultimately we need some bearish price action. It can't just keep going up like this. So now's not the time to trade it, but it's definitely the time to be prepared.
Oh, 100% agree. Gary's long for 3 weeks. Why are you so slow, mate? Why have you been so slow? Good on you. That's fantastic. And why wouldn't you be? I think I pointed out before on euro versus the yen how beautifully technical this has actually been. It's been absolutely fantastic. Going up in absolutely superb fashion. Every time it breaks, it just comes back and retests, comes back and retests. Absolutely gorgeous. And I haven't even been one bit a part of it. I've made absolutely nothing on. There you go. I'm not a trend trader. That's simply the case. silver and what was the other one? Oh, Aussie again. We looked at oil. I'll get Ash's opinion on oil because that's more a fundamental thing than it is anything else. Seems to want to find its way back up to this level here. Where is it in terms of horizontally? It's not a great level through here, but let's go with where we are pretty much. I've got a base and a higher low and a trend line and a horizontal level of resistance. So I'm in a no go zone really. I can see what may happen here. Maybe we come back. Maybe we don't. But I can't buy it, can't sell it. In terms of silver, I know where you're going with that because I had a look at that chart this morning myself. And here's a rising wedge, which is a bearish pattern. And we have had a bit of a comeback off the top of that on the monthly chart. We've got a lower high on the weekly chart, and we've got a break and retest of the monthly pivot multiple times, which didn't play out. Interesting. Tough one. I'd find it very difficult to go short underneath Friday's bar because of the support level. But I see that as the direction I'd like to travel. Interesting level there. They're ganging up against it, that's for sure. I think 20, was that 30, back to 30. I'd probably get interested in selling silver. I did have a look at the weekly scenario and saw that bar 3 weeks ago. And then the monthly pivot reaction, nothing's closed above the monthly pivot of last month, that is. So it does look bearish to me, I agree. I can't find a way in until we get back to there. Ash, thoughts?
Well, it's a tricky one. I've tried to sort of like take gold short, and it's managed to kind of remain within the range, and I wonder whether that's really what we're looking at here with silver, where even though we are kind of like seeing a lowering of the channel, if you look at the lower end on the there's a trend line break, actually a really nice one. If you look at the daily from February 29th, that one there, right down the bottom, that one, not that one there, yeah, and then taking that up. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? I mean, it looks like we're sort of through that particular area, and it's suggesting lower. But by the same token, there's a horizontal level that we're seeing from April the 8th as well, which is holding up right now, and that's where it becomes a really tricky prospect, I think, with silver. You'd almost want it you'd want to see it under there, and then if you draw in the trend line there, there's support there, so. We do still have some support. It's not a product that I particularly would, I think, enjoy trading. I think that there is still enough global concerns to suggest that both gold and silver are in people's portfolio, and they remain there. I think,
rightly so.
And rightly so. And also, I think that there's enough coming from the United States which suggests that this potential for or the desire for central banks to be lowering interest rates, back down to zero is just not going to happen. And that would ultimately, if the concerns start to lift, that would ultimately drive silver and gold both lower again. And I still think we're in this inflation environment where interest rates are going to remain where they are at worst. So I don't like it. I don't like sort of like how this is turning out. Personally, what I prefer to do with both gold and silver is see if there is a break to the downside and then actually try and buy it. because I think that you know the buy is a lot more attractive on a kind of philosophical view than you know trying to trade this on technical levels, because I just think that there is a conflict of interest in some respects with this stuff, and where does it become value? And the bottom of support, you know, where support is a value area. It's not particularly good value to my mind, but it's still got some value. I mean, you'd want it down to that 25.18 or whatever, wouldn't you? Really, was it? Yeah, 25.18. That would be brilliant if it could break down a little bit. But this is a support line. You know, we're through the area. Is this a retest of May 2009? Could be, and actually it could actually just be a further upside from this point rather than looking for downside. But I think we'd all like a little collapse in this to get long. But I wouldn't be interested in it as a product.
There you go. Yeah, I'm not a buyer or a seller of that at the moment, but I'm definitely seeing downside, potential downside. For how long? That looks like a good area, Ash. About 26.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. That'd be the point that I'd like to buy it, really. But it's just what drives it down. I just don't know what's going to take it to that level. You
Well,
know,
and especially with a weakening dollar, which seems
yeah.
to be weakening. And actually, it's one thing I wanted to ask you about. And I've been saying for, I think, months that what's happening here in Australia is not likely that the RBA is going to cut interest rates anytime soon, if at all, this year. In fact, with the data that we just saw last week, and they've been talking interest rate hike for 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 meetings, that may even be on the table.
A hike.
Mm.
Yep. Yep. I wouldn't
They'll throw the
disagree.
cat amongst the pigeons.
Yeah, I agree,
Pigeons.
mate. And you know, somebody made an interesting point in an interview I was listening to over the weekend that anybody that's been trading since 2008 seems to think that the you know zero interest rates is the norm, but it's not. You know, if you sort of like go back historically way before that, you know, some of the interest rate levels were eye-wateringly, you know, a lot higher than they are even now. So
I personally was paying 17 point something% on my first mortgage.
unbelievable, unbelievable. You know, that's the sort of thing we're talking about. And this stuff can happen. Inflation doesn't seem to be dropping in the way that people imagine. But what will potentially happen at some point is that it remains stubborn and maybe even pushes higher. And then all of a sudden, we don't get disinflation, but we get deflation, where prices of goods are actually dropping. You know, we could be in a really dangerous kind of position with the global economy. And you know, you and I talk about it quite a lot with energy. The cost of energy. Energy really is national security, and the fact that China, particularly, have moved so much faster than the rest of the world to secure the you know what appears to be the best form of energy, which is uranium, and way quicker than the United States. Then there is a genuine potential shift in global order, and what that does to prices of goods, who knows? I mean, and that's really, you know, back to what we're talking about here is the price of goods. What does that do to the price of goods? Who knows? But certainly the dynamic of the globe is changing. And when you have one nation, one of the top nations reacting, and the other ones dragging their feet a bit, you wonder really, you know, how long could it potentially take before the global order shifts? And it doesn't appear to be that long. I think within the next decade, potentially, we're looking at.
Have you seen or read The Great Taking?
No.
Do you want to be depressed?
Well, you know, I like to be informed. If it's informational,
with a global outlook, in
ex
particular the banking sector.
right. Yeah.
The
Is
Great Taking.
The Great Taking? Okay, mate.
There's,
I will.
there's both a documentary and a book. Conspiracy theory, maybe,
Yeah.
but yeah, certainly interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I'll look it up, mate. I'll look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be there. I think it's about a 30-minute doco, or maybe a little bit longer than that. But yeah, if you showed it to Alison, she's been depressed ever since.
Yeah, that's the danger of this stuff, isn't it?
It's called, I'll put it in there, The Great Taking. There you go, Lewis. I think that went to everyone. Did that go to everyone? Oh, sorry, to Muhammad. I'll put it to everyone. Now, don't blame me if you need a tablet afterwards, right? But yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah,
Helms,
I've found it.
What's his name? Helms, is it?
Helms. Who's
David,
that?
the bloke who's spruiking this.
The bloke who's talking about. Oh, I see him. David Webb.
Webb, that's him. David.
Yeah.
I know a bloke called David Webb. Different bloke entirely.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
look,
This is it.
absolutely worth a watch. David
Yeah,
Rogers,
I'll
but
look at that, mate.
that's it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's all of that. It's certainly interesting. All right, are we done? I think we're done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we
What's the
are,
Euro-
mate.
what's the
We are
Euro
live in the
doing?
FTSE 100 trade. We're looking for. I've got my targets. Just incidentally, I've got my targets at 81.58, in and around that kind of area. So around about 1.5 to 1, I'm aiming for with this one. But we're live in the market. It hasn't really moved. We're sort of just jostling around the area that of entry right now.
Cool. And euro versus the dollar. Who's? Oh, I'm screen sharing. There you go. Looking pretty much as
Oh,
we
nice, mate.
anticipate,
Yeah, well done.
it might. So if we get down to here, or really even this bar will do. So we want this to close below the trade line, and then we want to retest to be the trade line, horizontal level, monthly pivot, all three, all good. I'd put my entry either, as I said, aggressively above the bar, conservatively below the bar. TP1, get out. That would be my counsel.
Looking good. Let's get back. See how we get on for next week.
Okie dokie. Speaking of next week, we're 7 days away. And we'll be back then, right? There's no
Yeah.
holiday or anything.
No, not next week. We've got a little while left yet, mate. Couple of weeks.
All right, mate. You and I will be chatting before then, I'm sure. And
Yes.
thank you all for being our trading buddies this Monday, the first of the quarter, first of the month, and first of the week. My God, the trifecta. There must be something in the wind. Have a great week ahead, everyone. Bye-bye for now. Hooroo.